She's back on the show, at least. So happy to have you. So happy to see you. Thank you for talking to me on a Sunday morning. How are you?
Tired. It's morning. Plus, it's gray outside. So I'm just like, oh, I'm here. I'm here. Yay.
Well,
Rah.
that's the energy that we're looking for here.
Yeah. Reluctant enthusiasm. How about that?
I like it. Reluctant
Okay. Good.
enthusiasm. We will take it. We're live.
Perfect.
We're also live on YouTube. We should have
It's terrifying to me.
9 or 6 people will stop by on a Sunday
Those are
morning.
scary words live on YouTube. It just sounds like that's frightening to me. I don't know
Well,
why.
being live is being live, meaning if you say something, you cannot have it back. And I feel like
Well, that's the end of the conversation. We had a great time. Thanks so much for having me on.
Maura Quint, thanks for joining us. We've rarely had a conversation, almost always on tape, though, where you've been like, hey, take that out. I mean, it might have happened.
I can't imagine a single time, actually.
So it doesn't really bother you. But I like it. I like the idea of being live. It just invigorates me. I think it makes me perform more. It makes me stand straight up and then worry about technical issues.
Just square my shoulders. And yeah, okay. All right.
Okay. Well, it's been a while. I'm very excited to see you and very excited to talk to you about all of the things that are happening. I wanted to start by asking you what exactly you're doing. You are very busy, busier than I've known you to be, and you're always busy. You have 2 kids, single mom, but also you have a full-time job, and you're basically a full-time activist, organizer, writer, commentator. What hats are you wearing right now, and how's it all going? Tell me what you're up to.
What hats am I? I'm putting a hat on a hat because that's the peak of funny. So that's what I've been doing, just like Musk.
Yeah, you and Elon.
Yeah. Boy. Let's see. I am working full time for Fair Share America. So the goal for Fair Share America is to bring to coordinate with state and local groups, and then the national groups who are all focused on trying to put forth a fair budget and fight for a fair economy. So I'm doing that. I'm also full time, kind of on loan partnership to a campaign called Families Over Billionaires, which is really focused on trying to stop this terrible reconciliation package and budget from going through. So I've been doing those things full time as my job, which is kind of 2 jobs. I also am chair of the board of Unrig the Economy, which is an economic group that is focused on trying to hyper focus on specific districts and influence and monitor the economic messaging that's happening at the district level. And those are all kind of national work things. But following the election, I felt like, all right, I've been doing national things. I don't feel like that's enough. So I started a group right after the election of women in my local community, calling it the Women's Salon. We meet once a month, and we come together, talk through things that are happening directly in our community and try to figure out how we can effect real change and basically organize really hyper locally. So we've been doing that, which has been incredible. Just such a group of talented, amazing, smart women who have come together and like focused in to do actions like pull together and purchase money for tarps and tents for the unhoused community that's here. Do some work with protecting abortion rights locally. So lots of cool stuff happening there. And then additionally, I currently live in Pennsylvania. I live in a district that is represented by Scott Perry, who is a Republican and also was just a big old fan of that J6 stuff. Just really thought that was fantastic. Wants more of that. So I find that, of course, utterly repulsive, and have been very, very frustrated. So I've kind of dived in to try to see what we can do to unseat him. And I'm kind of in the muck of that, which has been very eye-opening when you have, just trying to find a candidate and vet a candidate. And when you have someone who you're like, all right, this is a really strong candidate, this is a great person, but then you have to run up against the machine of like the D-trip and the funding mechanisms that are in place that maybe have gone all in on people that haven't been so effective and are not changing course. And now you've got to like sort of figure out, is it going to be worth fighting your own side in order to get somebody in office who's going to really actually
Yeah.
embody the things that you actually believe, or do you kind of acquiesce and go along with these like little handpicked, I mean, like, is a nice enough person, but doesn't stand for anything, and has lost previously, and so it's a real gamble. So anyway, that's an aside. I was doing that earlier this morning. That's why that's top of mind. I was having those calls. So those are, I think, the main things that I've been doing. And then I
Have
contribute to
you
the Onion,
thought?
and I run social media, and I haven't been doing as much comedy as I want, but I try. So yeah, I think that's it. Kind of a
Have you
little bit.
thought? Uh, I think that I personally, I know you pretty well. I feel like you could be doing more.
I think so too. And it like I don't sleep. Every night I'm just like, well, I spent an hour scrolling TikTok. What could I have been doing? Yeah, no, it's like an internal battle I'm constantly having with like, you're not doing near enough. So, oh yeah. And then also I've been working with the 5051 groups on the local actions and the actions they've been doing. So I'm connected into the DC 5051, trying to help them with some of the sort of national stuff. And then I also have been running as the press person for the local Central Pennsylvania Harrisburg 5051 stuff too. Sorry, I
Wow.
forgot that one.
Okay. Two things. Well, one big thing that you didn't mention. I can't think of anybody that's actually doing more to create positive change in their community and in their country. And we've got an award for you here at Stand Up. It's called the person who is standing up the most award, and it goes to you, Maura Quint. We take a vote. There were
Can it be
several.
the lie down award? Can it just be you go lie down? Because that's what I'd like.
Well, the award comes with a vacation where you just lie down.
That sounds amazing. However, I reject it out of hand. I'm in no way doing the most. I am doing maybe you could say like quantitatively, if you list off I'm doing that many things, but I don't I want to be clear. I don't think having your hand in like 100 pots is necessarily the best way to do anything.
Well, you're
I think
being
people who
modest,
go
but
all in on one thing are probably doing a lot more than I am.
you're being modest. But of all the people I talk to, you are doing the most, and we appreciate it, and we support you. And you can find out more. You should all, if you feel like you aren't doing enough because of what you just heard from Mara, you should just support her. Follow her on Blue Sky. Send her money. Send her money. What's your Venmo?
Nobody needs to send me any money. Although I have asked for money a couple of times, but it's always been sort of in contributions. And that was something that we did when I was talking about the tarps and tents. I posted on Blue Sky if anybody wanted to contribute, and people did. So that helped us raise money to be able to help the unhoused community. So that was huge. And I will also say, because it has been directly from some of your followers, like people actually have sent me stuff, and it's so I feel so unworthy, and it is so incredibly kind and nice, and like it's just been incredibly amazing. And Pete, like your listenership is just the best people. So I mean, you don't have to tell them to do anything. They're doing amazing things, and I've just been like blown away consistently by how supportive and engaged and incredible they all are. So
Yeah, I look up to so many of them, and but yet at the same time, I feel like they're obviously a reflection of my character.
that must be it. I mean, look, until I started getting stuff in the mail, I just assumed you had a lot of characters that you
No,
kind of
that
like
well,
played, but like,
it's funny because it's one thing I mean, that's not funny. It's true that I am not a good gift giver. I'm not necessarily always the most generous in some of the traditional ways. And I never ever put things in the mail, like including things that I need to return, things that I would like to get reimbursed for because it's not the right size or it's broken. No, I just leave it. I just don't
sure.
mail things. I don't send gifts. And the people who send like handwritten cards still and gifts, you definitely do this. I admire that. I think that's it shows how much you care and you putting effort into it. But I find dealing with some of the mail things tedious
I
and
do it in like a fits and starts way. Like I do it in an ADHD way, which is to say, like, all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, let's just do it. And I just send a bunch of things. And then I will forget to do that for 6 months. So, like, whatever, however amount. It's the same thing with like anything in my life. Like, okay, like this weekend, I cooked so many things and I baked things and I made stuff. And then I don't cook for another like 3 weeks. Like, I can do it all at once, but I'm not good at the consistent sort of like, okay, we got something nice. Now we write a letter and we put that in the mail because I can't do that.
You are forgiven. I'm going to capture that voiceover of that soundbite though. So I'll be inspired because that sounded really nice. It really made me want to do it. All right.
You want me to do some ASMR for you, like on the side here?
I think you could do that.
Voice and...
In the live chat, speaking of inappropriate innuendo, Carla writes, Pete needs a sister podcast, Lie Down. No, wait, that might be a bad idea. Now, taking out all the sexual jokes, it made me have an idea. Like, I could have my guests. I have my head on a pillow. You have your head on a pillow. And we talk about the angst that we feel as we're trying to fall asleep or falling asleep. That's the whole show. It's nothing about intimacy or sexuality. It's just how people lie.
Unless that's what your angst is. I mean, like, you could have angst about that.
Sure. Fine. But as long as you're talking about it, and yeah, you're in a totally different tone and energy. It's video of two people's heads on pillow. We'll workshop it. Let me go back to your activism and all the things that you're doing. My general question is, how is it working? You've been doing this work because, of course, it's purposeful for you, for all of us who are in it. You feel like you're doing something. You're moving your hands. You feel like you're fighting the good fight. But in terms of results, in terms of momentum, in terms of energy, how would you characterize what you're feeling and seeing there in Pennsylvania and working with all the organizations that you're working with nationally as well?
Well, we won, right? Like, did you not see that? We won everything. I'm in charge actually now. It all happened. Maybe it was overnight. I don't know. Have you read the headlines?
I didn't.
No, it's going okay. I mean, it's frustrating work. It's deeply frustrating work. We are up against such a ridiculous enemy and circumstance that it is really difficult. The national stuff that I've been working on, the reconciliation bill, all of that, it is, we're David and Goliathing it over here. Like, the Republicans have a majority. They can pass these stupid, evil bills as fast as they want. They can do it. They don't need us. So the fact that we have been able to fight against them, we've been able to sow a lot of dissent among their ranks. We've been able to be incredibly vocal in the field and really reinforce that Republicans who are voting for this package are very likely to lose their seat in, oh God, I was about to say 2026, very, very likely to lose their seat, and that people are not going to forgive them for voting for bills.
Let me ask you about that, because that's a national question. When you say reconciliation bill, me and everybody else who doesn't pay attention to this goes, sounds pretty important and a big deal and bad thing. So my question is kind of, what is it? And then also, what's the kind of deadline and schedule? Sometimes activists, we get more motivated momentum the closer it is. And then finally, what is an example of something that you've done, messaging, phone calling, campaign, that is sowing dissent? Because I know exactly what you mean. We're doing that here in my district with Mike Lawler. But what is this reconciliation bill, and how are you sowing dissent?
Pete, are you in Mike Lawler's district?
I was at the town hall the other day, and I got quoted by the New York Times when at the end of their article, they recapped the dissent and the chaos at his town hall. At the very end, I thought of you. You inspired me. Someone yelled something about tax the rich, and he said, that won't solve our problem. And then the New York Times writes, and then another person yelled, do it anyway.
That's amazing. I love that so much.
Another person yelled, do it anyway.
You're another person.
That person,
so proud of you.
And then they tried to throw me out, and they said, sir, third strike. And I looked at the person. I was in the middle of the row. I go, I'm not going anywhere. I won't say anything else. I'll behave. And they left me there. And then I began yelling again.
Good. That's wonderful. That's important. That's so important. I love that so much.
We're working hard against him, and we're doing just as we have 5 great candidates. So anyway, but going back to this reconciliation bill question.
Yeah. Reconciliation bill. I know. What the hell is it? What is any of this? It is, I have to constantly go to all of my like ledge policy people and be like, okay, wait, what is going on? What is this again?
Legislative policy people.
All these people, they're like, oh, they love it. They live for this. And I'm just like, I don't understand. Just tell me what's happening when.
Sex it up for us. Make it interesting. What is the reconciliation? Who does it hurt?
Jazz hands. So this is the major fiscal package of the year. This is like, how are we going to spend our money, basically? What are we going to do? And there are ways to do this in multiple bills. Trump is the one who said that no, we just want one big bill. So that's what he's been pushing, and that's what they are trying to get through. And this big bill would include all sorts of things, including extending and expanding the tax cuts for the rich. So the rich are going to pay even less. But, you have to score bills. You have to like, you can't just well, you can, but like people still don't fully just want to pass anything. They want their bills. They want to justify it and say, no, this is a responsible package. And so in order to do that, if they do things like give these massive handouts and tax cuts to the rich, they have to offset it somehow in the bill. So what they're doing is giving these massive tax cuts to the rich, and then they're offsetting it by just wild cutting. And they're cutting things like Medicaid, Social Security, and housing, SNAP, food, nutrition, food assistance, things that people rely on every single day. That's what they're looking to just slash and burn. And they're doing it, they're trying to be muckety muck about it, right? Like instead of just saying, well, we're just going to take Medicaid away from people, they do things like, well, we're going to change the age requirements. We're going to, they like couch it in other terms, but the effect is you're stripping Medicaid away from huge amounts of people. And then once you strip Medicaid away from people, you wind up with a lot of like ripple effects happening from that. So that's bad enough. That's just outright killing people. You think that should be enough, but no, that then continues to affect whole communities. You strip Medicaid away from communities. There are rural hospitals where 75% of the people who come to see them are on Medicaid. If they don't have Medicaid anymore, they can't go to those hospitals. If they can't go to those hospitals close. People no longer have access
That's
to
a big
emergency
one
medical.
that is sowing dissent, right? Because the like the hospitals closing, I think people think of Medicaid, they think of poor people getting health insurance. That's another thing I yelled out at them. Lawler, he said this phrase work requirement. I've been talking about it a lot because I really want to highlight that and make sure everybody realizes how unbelievably fucking gross it is as a country to make the argument, and as he did and so many others, somehow convincingly to people, if you're an able-bodied person and you're not working, you should not have government paid for subsidized health insurance. And I am so deeply offended by that. And every American should be. Healthcare is a right. It should be a right in the richest country in the world. But if you say the Medicaid money is going to hospitals, which employ a whole bunch of people, hospitals in important communities that this Republican congressman really needs to keep open, then he's going to, or she's going to be like, we can't cut that. Is that where we're sowing dissent?
Yeah, that's a big one. I mean, the idea of work requirements too is also really meant to really focus in on people's fears of what is happening, which is like, oh yeah, if you're able-bodied, you should be working. Okay, well, that's great. You know how many able-bodied people would like to be working and cannot find work right now, or do not have the opportunity to work for a vast number of other reasons? There are individuals who have to stay home to take care of family members. Like, as it turns out, time and time again, and we've like done so many studies, this is just so well trodden at this point, but people want to work. They want to. They feel better about it. Like, people like having something that they can feel good about themselves that they're doing. And the point is, we don't have those opportunities for a lot of people right now, not in a way that would actually make sense. I mean, you can't work if you can't get to your job. And if you cannot afford transportation and there is no public transportation and we're cutting public transportation, how are you meant to have that job? Like, there's so many barriers that we put up in place. If you cannot afford any sort of childcare, because childcare is insanely expensive, and again, you have to get the child to childcare, and you are making less than you would have to be paying out into childcare, then how can you work? Like, there are so many barriers right now. And those are the people that they want to cut Medicaid for. But they want you to believe that there is this vast, vast body of people. They want you to picture them as not white. They want you to picture them as men, young men, they want you to picture them as just lazy grifters.
Yeah.
And I mean, are there a few of those types of people? Of course, there's lazy grifters
I
of all
wonder
sorts,
what, first
but
of all,
that's not the majority.
I've described that person as terribly as possible and as lazy as possible, and even as a mean son of a bitch. I still want that
Oh, yeah.
person to have health insurance. I don't care who it is, but I wonder what percentage of people they would consider are, quote, able-bodied, because you just so articulately spelled out all the different reasons why somebody might not be able to afford health insurance. On the chat, Rachel says most people on welfare are working. That's why you should hate Walmart and all the huge corporations using government to subsidize their crappy wages.
Absolutely.
Maura and I have also made that point a lot of times. And most importantly, poor people are the hardest working people, period. And the idea that another stereotype is pervasive in this country and pretty much every society is because of the idea of someone being lazy and sitting around. But again, that person should have health insurance. What percentage of people are, quote, able-bodied and not working that they're going to cut that's going to make in any way a difference in the budget for Medicaid, much less the whole entire government budget? It's a ridiculous argument and suggestion, but they're doing it. They're going for it, and they're going to cut a lot of people that really need that insurance as the guest. So you're doing everything you can to stop it. Do you think you'll be able to? What is the schedule timeline on this, Bill?
Yeah, so I think one of the things to look to is that we have already delayed it so much. This was already meant to happen. Like, they were supposed to be in these votes already a while ago. It keeps getting delayed. In fact, even just as of Friday, I think it was, because we were looking at them going to markups. Markups is when the individual committees go through and they like do their parts of the bill and they run it through their little committee and then they all vote it out. And once all the committees have done their markups, then it forms together in some sort of Voltron kind of like evil thing and like becomes the massive bill that the whole House votes on. So we thought next week they were going to be doing some of the key committee markups, and several of them have already been postponed because they already have a lot of dissension among their ranks in these committees. So it's already, and that has happened multiple times at this point. So we're expecting now, let's see, there was some chatter that they wanted to get this done and passed before Memorial Day. If you had asked me Wednesday of last week, I would say they probably are going to. Now I'm like, I don't know. I don't know that they're going to get it done before Memorial Day. So once they go through the markups, they'll come together and then the House is going to vote on the bill. But that's not the end.
Right. And just to jump in on as an update, I just saw Ron Johnson, the conspiracy theorist, white supremacist Christian nationalist senator from Wisconsin, does not think that they're going to be able to get that done. And you just said that would just be the House. That's not the end. And I referred to a senator's recent quote. So I was imagine going to jump to the U.S. Senate.
Yeah. Well, just to explain the process. So once the House votes on it, let's assume that the House passes it because they have the majority to do so, and they presumably will not bring it to a vote unless they believe they have the votes to do so. But once it passes the House, then it goes to the Senate. The Senate then looks at it and just they have to mark it up themselves. Now, the Senate could just do a clean vote and say, yep, we love it, vote. But we already know that that is very unlikely. The Senate has problems with what the House is doing. And they have not been running a dual track where they're both kind of working at the same time. Instead, it's going to go to the Senate. The Senate's going to be like, well, we don't like this, this, and this, and we want to change it. And they're going to do their own thing. Then it'll pass the Senate. And because it will have been altered in the Senate, it will have to go back to the House to get another vote. So it's, multi-step process. And any one of these steps can be disrupted and shut down. So, and every one of them is an opportunity for us to really be loud as possible, because they're nervous. I mean, Republicans are not united. They are not a singular impenetrable wall. They are a bunch of factions, and some of them are very, very vulnerable on the idea of passing these massive, massive cuts. Lawler being one, Fitzpatrick in Pennsylvania. There are several others, representatives who have said, I'm not going to do that. They've said it, who knows? But it means that they are vulnerable to hearing from their constituents 24/7, that they are going to be held accountable for this. And then you also have factions within Republicans saying, oh, you got to do much more. These cuts I'm not going to vote for it at this level. We need much bigger cuts. This is not nearly enough to offset. Those are the sort of fiscal hawk budget, whatever.
They haven't passed any legislation, any major legislation in the first 100 days. And this was what they were hoping to do. But what you're saying is because of the noise that's being made, because of the sunlight that is being put on this bill by activists like you and so many others. I like to think I'm talking about it a lot, but clearly I haven't been specifically talking about this reconciliation bill, which you've been so focused on. But of course, we're worried about certain cuts that they're going to make. Executive orders are not legislation as much as Donald Trump wants to think so. So that's a really important issue. And so I appreciate spending a lot of time on that. Lightning round, because I know you're tired. It's Sunday morning, and we usually do about 30 minutes. So lightning round, I'm just going to say words, and then you can respond somewhat briefly to it and before the next one. Are you ready?
Okay. All right. I didn't even have any coffee. Let's go.
All right. What does the outcome of the Canadian election and then 2 days ago, the Australian election mean about the world and Trump's role in it?
I think it's incredibly important for us to recognize here at home, because something that the Republicans in particular keep putting forth is that Donald Trump has like a mandate and Republicans have a mandate, and they keep putting it like that. And they keep making us think that he's infallible, where his approval ratings have been plummeting. He
Right.
is getting weaker and weaker by the minute. And I think that these international elections are showing us that other people are seeing it and going. And to be very clear, they are facing the same sort of challenges within their countries. It's not as though they're up against something else. They're up against their own mini Trumps, and they are defeating them because they recognize that this guy sucks. And that is incredibly important. And we should all be really buoyed by that. Like that's something that really we should all be looking to go, oh, right. You can beat them. We can beat them.
Donald Trump is unifying a center-left movement in the rest of the world as opposed to replicating and wanting, creating more demand for more authoritarian tyrant types, I think. All right, that's my recap of what you just said. How about this? Elon Musk, he's really flamed out, it feels like. What do you have to say about Elon Musk, his role and damage he's done, or Doge, anything you know about that, or Tesla? Go.
I think he's done exactly what he's tried to do. Like, I mean, I hate the idea of even thinking that he flamed out. No, he's like went to accomplish a task, and he's really done it pretty effectively by creating mass chaos, by horrible. The outcomes of some of the shit that he has been doing are going to be long reaching. And ultimately, while you are absolutely right, executive orders and all of these things are not legislation and therefore can be overturned pretty easily. Whenever we have the opportunity to, we are going to need to put somebody in office who is willing to take very, very bold action, because this stuff needs to be completely reversed. And most electeds, as we have seen them thus far, do not have the appetite for that. They will sort of allow things to fizzle or build them back up slowly or incremental. And we need somebody to really just absolutely grab this, completely turn it around, and in fact, then invest even more into these systems that have been dismantled.
Well done. You are awesome to lightning round. Chuck Schumer and John Fetterman, your senator and my senator, are sitting together, and you're there at dinner. It's just the three of you. What do you say to these gentlemen?
You should definitely drink the wine. Drink more of it. There's nothing in it. Don't worry about it. Shh, it's fine. Just keep drinking.
I was just
all good.
Wow, you went. Time's up, gentlemen. But you actually slipped some sugar in their wine.
I didn't say. All I said was drink the wine, Pete. That's literally all I'm on the record as saying. That is hospitable. Thank you.
And the Pope is dead. Trump wants to be the Pope. Long live the Pope.
Yeah, sure. Great. Amazing. Wonderful. No, I mean, I like reposted something from Internet Hippo. I don't know his real name, but no, he like shared it, and he's like, these guys are sending out these memes of like Trump as Pope, and you definitely get the sense that they think they're trolling someone. But who? Like, what are you doing? This isn't it. What do you think you're causing some sort of like outrage? Do you think everyone's clutching their pearl? Nobody gives a shit, man. Like we understand. You think this is funny. I don't know. Good
Final question. The least funny thing that's happened in the last few weeks has been this nightmare around deporting people who have done nothing. And I wanted to get your reaction on what you think that issue is. Not having due process. Everybody gets due process, whether you're citizens or not, we've learned. And they're not getting any due process. They're just being shipped out, sometimes into like camps, like death camps, I think it's fair to say. Is the tide turning on this, that more Americans are seeing what they're doing and they don't like it, even if they look like they might be bad people? What's your read?
You know how you said it at the front, like we're live and I can't cut anything out of this? This is where I'm like, oh, I got to take a breath. Because if I just respond, I could
This makes you very angry.
Yeah. I could get myself in trouble. It's obviously evil. It's outright evil. I don't think people are seeing it and waking up fast enough, unfortunately. I think that it is not immediately affecting people and being covered enough that like the average slightly disengaged person really understands this to be as horrific as it is. I think I think everyone who reads, history can look at moments that precipitate some tremendous horrors. And I think we're past the precipitating moment. We're a step into the horrors. And it is a bit frustrating to see how easy it is to not notice. And that is something that I really struggle with. It's very easy for large quantities of large populations of people to simply not really see what's happening. And so it is one of the reasons that I do think protesting is so important. I also think that talking to your friends and your family and your neighbors are so important because they may not know how bad it is right now. And I think the more we can make sure that people are hearing from us, the better off we'll be.
Very excited to talk to you again, to catch up. Thank you for all those answers in the lightning round and the rest of it. Congratulations on the first ever stand-up award, person who's doing the most for the most. And we're going to get you a vacation. We're going to get listeners to contribute points, travel points, cash, gift cards, and whatever cobble together to send you to some kind of relaxing
protest rally.
It won't be a lot. So it'll be like one town over and it'll just be a campsite with nothing. But
I'm doing that in a couple of weeks, actually, with my kids.
Oh, great.
Like exactly that. So you succeeded. Good job, everybody.
All right. We'll cover the hot dogs, marshmallows, whatever you plan to roast. At least.
Do you know about democracy sausage? I'm sorry, you're trying to go. And I'm like, you just have hot dog.
I'm going to let you go. I could stay. No, I don't.
Only because I've learned about Australian politics. And first of all, the fact that voting is mandatory. That's wild. But they have something called democracy sausage where like there are places that are like fundraisers, but they usually happen like outside voting centers or, in towns. They do these sausage sizzles where they sell sausages, hot dog type things, and they call them, democracy sausage. You go and get one after you voted. I don't know. I feel as though if we started bribing people with the idea that like, you could go to a cookout afterwards, like maybe we'd get more voter participation.
Well, you've done a really good job to find ways to organize people. And what was it that you shared that music lyric about? I just reshared it at Blue Sky about what happens when you're organizing. What was the lyric? Here it is.
I don't know.
you shared on Blue Sky, hey, I just met you and this is crazy, but here's my number. So call me maybe is also an effective way to community organize. Like I like that a lot. And I think we should have a democracy treat to get people. I just feel like making it sausage. I love sausage. And when I was in Australia, it seems like they have sausage everywhere to get you into their equivalent of like Home Depot. It's like, have a free sausage. And I was there with my friends and 8-year-old son. They handed him a sausage and the sausage immediately fell on the ground. And it was hilarious to me that my friend's wife was so patient with him. I was like, I would have been so pissed at that. Anyway, that's either here or there.
I was going to say, I think we're unlocking some issues here. Maybe we want to delve into for next time. Let's
democracy treat that's not sausage.
That's not sausage. A non-sausage based treat. I don't know. It's an idea. Anyway, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Maura, very, very much for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for watching live. And you can listen to this later on Stand Up with Pete Dominic podcast. It's available everywhere. Thanks, Maura. And